Warriors, this is the Spartan Underground. And now, your host, James 300 Foster.
Happy New Year, Spartan Warriors, and welcome to the first episode of the Spartan Underground for 2017. This episode features Atos black belt Kristian Woodmansee. We had a great conversation, very insightful, covered a lot of different topics, and I really think you guys are going to enjoy it. Our featured sponsor for this podcast is Impact Custom Mouthguards, simply the best custom mouthguards on the market. Best one for jiu-jitsu I've ever tried. You can check them out on impactmouthguards.com and make sure to use the promo code Spartan and then the number 10 to receive a 10% off discount. Also, this episode, just like every other episode of the Spartan Underground, is sponsored by Show You Roll. You can check them out. If you don't know who they are, you've been living in a cave. Best jiu-jitsu kimonos on the market, awesome apparel. Check them out on www.showyoroll.com. Again, www.shoyorol.com. Also, this episode is sponsored by Albino and Preto. You can check them out at www.albinoandpreto.com, www.albinoandpreto.com. All right, guys, without any further ado, enjoy the show. What's up, Spartan Warriors? James 300 Foster here. We have the first episode of 2017 of the Spartan Underground coming out, and I'm really excited today to have Kristian Woodmansee here with me. How you doing tonight, Kristian?
I'm fantastic, my man. How are you?
I'm doing good. Did I butcher your last name?
No, you did not.
Oh,
It was good.
So it's one of those names that sounds how it looks then.
Yeah, I'm adopted, so it's not really my name anyway, but you did a good job with it. My dad would be proud.
All right, it works. So how you doing tonight, man?
Man, I'm good. It's Saturday. It's the end of the week, so it's nice to kind of wind things down, but successful. Hard training, good classes, and everything else like that. But it's good, man. I'm looking forward to next week and starting it all over again. Just another day.
Very cool, and I understand you've been braving the cold out there.
Oh, braving is not even the word, man. I despise the cold. Once I realized that there's places that exist that don't have seasons, I kind of didn't want to live anywhere else, but it is freezing out here.
So you moved out to Michigan, is that correct?
Yeah, correct. Like basically right outside of Detroit, a place called Brighton. It's like maybe 25, 30 minutes west of Detroit. So I can pretty much see Canada. I'm really close to where the Red Wings play and stuff like that.
So you're definitely close to the cold weather.
Freezing cold weather, that is correct.
Man, well, I look at you as one of the up-and-coming black belts in jiu-jitsu right now, and, for the people who maybe don't know a whole lot about you, I know most people who are really into jiu-jitsu know who you are, but maybe for some of the listeners who don't know much about your background, why don't we talk a little bit about how you got into jiu-jitsu and how long you've been training and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I started, I'm originally from the East Coast, Philadelphia. I started training there just about 9 years ago. Trained at like a hole-in-the-wall place that had like a jiu-jitsu program. It was like a Muay Thai academy, and it was actually a Balance affiliate. Rick and Phil Miglaris basically did at that point in time were like running the town jiu-jitsu wise, and
yeah, those guys have been around a long time.
Yeah, I think Phil was like a 25 stripe black belt or something like that. But I think he's like 6 or something, 5 or 6. But yeah, so I took my first class, fell in love with it, and then just kind of like from there, I was like at that point in time where I was doing the college thing, and once I made the choice that I wanted to do jiu-jitsu full time, I just kind of moved around a little bit, figuring out what I wanted to be. And jiu-jitsu then wasn't really it wasn't really what it is now. So I didn't know what IBJJF was yet, and I was trying to figure out what was going on and how I could make it a career. And I kind of like seeked out a bunch of different people. So I trained with Cyborg in Miami for like 10 months, and I moved to Las Vegas. I trained with Drysdale for like 3 years, and after that I realized like, I accomplished a bunch of stuff, and I realized I wanted to take the extra step, and I finally decided to make the move over to Atos in San Diego, and I trained there for about 3 years before I finally said like, okay, I'm ready to kind of like do my own thing and kind of like go back there every once in a while to get ready for camps. And I mean, the journey's been about 9 years now, so I mean, just it's been an everyday thing since then. Haven't really done anything else. Never really had a job other than this.
That's awesome. So you were hooked right away.
Right away, man. The bug bit me, and I mean, I only the academy only had like a handful of people, and my main training partners were all huge, obviously, because I'm super tiny. But I mean, just it was always awesome. I've always loved it, and hasn't really changed. So it's something that I can't really explain in terms of commitment or the amount of success that I've had anything else in life. It's just it's really big to me.
Yeah, I think a lot of people who haven't been involved with jiu-jitsu really wouldn't understand just what an impact it has on your life and how it kind of takes over every facet of your life when you really get into it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just like I mean, like there was life before jiu-jitsu, but like once you found it, it never really made sense. Like you're like, I don't know how I did life without this. So I mean, it's huge, and it's a blessing that I found it, and I'm really happy that I did. And I'm looking forward to having it part of my life for until the end of the rest of my life. So it's something that I can see what I'm doing when my kids are having kids and everything else like that. So it's huge, man. I can't believe I didn't hear about it before I did, and I wish I did, but I can't really go back in time and fix it. So it's awesome.
Absolutely. And had you been interested in martial arts prior to getting into jiu-jitsu, and kind of how did you discover Brazilian jiu-jitsu?
I mean, I tried to get into wrestling my freshman year in high school, and I was really tiny, and it just wasn't really for me. I wasn't into waking up extra early and doing all like the work. I just wasn't into it. So I actually wasn't really involved in any kind of martial arts ever before I did jiu-jitsu. So my brother actually at the time was fighting Muay Thai, and that's how his academy started the program. And he's like, I think you'd like this. You should try it out. So when I went over there, I honestly was like, oh, this is a little weird. There's a bunch of sweaty dudes just rolling around with each other,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
it wasn't that didn't like kind of it didn't put me off, but I was just like I kind of saw what was going on, and I was seeing how like it's something that with technique you could kind of like I saw that right away that the technical aspect was like greatly challenging, and if you had that you could kind of like have the key to unlock a lot of things. And I got a bit egotistical and literally thought like if I could be technically better than someone bigger than me, I can use that against them. And once I started to learn the moves and I started to apply them, then it became like a greater addiction every single time that I learned something new. And then, I mean, from that point forward, it was just like, like I just needed more. I was constantly just looking for more. So anything I could get information-wise, I was just like a sponge taking in and putting on the mat, and it just was just literally all downhill from there. There's no looking back.
Yeah, the mental aspect of it is every bit as addictive as the physical aspect, isn't it?
It really is, and like I said, like I mean, just like too. Um, I thought jiu-jitsu was just jiu-jitsu, and then after a while, I realized how much it applied and changed my life. And once that hit me, and I became addicted to that, I started realizing how I could help other people just by showing them jiu-jitsu, and how I could explain things in a way that they could apply to many different things. And I mean that has obviously just completely grown in such a way that I never even saw that for a while in jiu-jitsu, because I was still young and I didn't really know where I wanted to go with it. So once I realized that, and that's when that whole teaching aspect came into play, and that ability to pass it on kind of came in. So it's a huge thing to me. I love it so much.
That's very cool. And one of the things that stands out in my mind when I think of you, I think it was kind of when you got on my radar, was I saw a video clip where you were in a match and the referee, I believe he didn't give your opponent points when your opponent should have had points, and you actually I believe you let your opponent score on you, ended up winning the match. Is that how it went down?
Yeah, it was. I think it was 2014 Nogi Pan Ams. They didn't have any roosters, and I won rooster weight the year beforehand, so I went up to light feather. And my first match, I was fighting a kid that I fought previously at light feather and feather before, but like the ref, I didn't know what it was. I don't know if he was having a bad day or something like that, but I'm very respectful. And well, we kind of basically got into an exchange, and obviously IBJJF just made the rules, and they were very clear that if your opponent has you in a submission and the match gets stopped out of bounds, you either get put back in the center in the position again, or if you start standing up, he gets 2 points. So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, I attempted to pull myself in as much as I could, and when I couldn't, he stopped it. I already accepted that I didn't do a good enough job. I'm gonna get stood back up. He's gonna get 2 points. So when he stood us back up, he didn't give him 2 points. I thought it was very unfair. I mean, I don't think of myself in any shape, way, or form as in like I need to win at all costs. So when that happened, and you can't talk to the ref, but the opponent that I had was obviously Brazilian, and they were speaking in Portuguese, and he was upset with him because they were talking, and
Right.
and I was like, you know what, I'll just take it into my own hands. So I put out my leg, and he like kind of looked at me, and I was like, grab my leg, and I sat, and then the ref was now very mad at me because he knew what I was doing, and once he gave me 2 points, we stood back up, slapped hands, and from that point in time, we had a good fight. I mean, I was doing very well, and I thought that if I was good enough, the score wouldn't matter. So it came down to a ref's decision, and I obviously lost. I'm not sure in what terms for the ref's decision
Yeah.
went that way, but and it was a big factor, because to me, character is very important, and it was important for me to show my students like what I thought and what I believed in. I mean, I would do that at the finals and the worlds if I had to, because I'm not a win at all cost kind of guy. I mean, I have no problem going hard and breaking someone's arm or getting my arm broken, but I'm not about cheating, and whether someone's being cheated or I'm cheating someone, it's just not going to happen on my watch. So
Yeah, it's huge, and it goes back to what we were talking about with jiu-jitsu changing and influencing our lives in a positive way. Building that type of character is a big benefit of training in jiu-jitsu.
yeah, when competition jiu-jitsu is your career, and you rely on teaching seminars, and that's like kind of how you're able to eat. It's the results are very important in certain people's eyes, not everybody's, but to a degree. And I literally had so many people that were proud of me, that gave me praise, and they were like, that's awesome. And I had just as much saying the opposite, like, oh, you're bad for the sport, and this isn't what jiu-jitsu is all about, and it's about competition. And it wasn't really tough, but at the same time, it's like, man, you can see where jiu-jitsu is at. You can see other people's character just from what gets presented to them. So it's huge.
Yeah, situations like that are very illuminating. I mean, they kind of show you things about people that you didn't maybe realize previously.
Exactly. Just like any other time in life, So it's just a big thing happens. You see people's character, you know them better as people and whatnot. So, I mean, I learned a big lesson, and I didn't apologize to anybody, and I've accepted and told everybody that cared, that was close to me, that said that I shouldn't have done that, I said, I'm going to do it again, and my parents are proud of me, and that those are the only people that actually I care, their opinions. So.
Yep, that's what matters.
Yep.
I was going to ask you, I noticed that you're really into the mental aspect of training, just similarly that in the way that I am. I see you post things about mental training and how important the mental game is. Can you go into kind of what do you study as far as mental training? Are there any books that really you explored on that, or is that just something you kind of delved into on your own?
No, I mean, I don't really read too much in the sense of like picking up a book and reading it through its entirety. I mean, I just kind of like, I kind of listen to everybody speak, and I try to learn from whatever they're learning from, and I try to like kind of like not take shortcuts, but I just try to take as much experience in as I can, whether it's someone else's experience or it's my own. So, I mean, in that sense, I listen to a lot of people, whether they're like, significant figures in specific sports or whatever it may be, or it's just somebody that would consider just a normal white belt in the mat that I think like, it's just important. And I listen to these people because I realize that like I can't do it all on my own, and they can't do it on their own either. So a lot of it's just sharing and listening and communication. I'm really, really big into communication. I think like it's probably one of the most important things to me in my life other than jiu-jitsu. So, I mean, I have a lot of clear communication with myself on a daily basis, and I have communication with my students and my teammates. So, I mean, it's just something that I kind of dove into, and I realized that it was like a big aspect of my game, and it helped me out a lot. And I kind of just like, I guess I had to just learn as I went. And once I started to apply it and I saw the results, and I could share with other people, and I could kind of give them a better understanding of which route they could take, and I could be supportive in it. But I mean, other than that, it was just trial and error.
Yeah, it's such a huge part of what we do. When you get to a certain level, a lot of times it comes down to the mental game as far as what decides a match. So I'm always surprised at how few people really train that aspect. I mean, it's one of the least physically demanding aspects to train, and it takes a small amount of time to do, but a lot of people don't like to apply themselves to it.
Yeah, for sure. Do you think that people maybe do dive into it, but they're just not consciously aware of it, or do you think like it's something that's like more subconscious? Or like, what do you? I would think my opinion is that to be an elite athlete or someone who is able to perform at such a high level that they have to have some kind of mental edge, and that's just what I think. But
Yeah, I would agree with that. And if you look at and study all of the greats in any sport, they always attribute their greatness to the mental aspect. 9 times out of 10, they're talking about the mental training and their focus and their mindset and everything. So I think it's huge. But as to why people neglect it, I'm not sure. Maybe because it's not as exciting as going in and rolling. Rolling is obviously a lot more fun, but you got to train your mind as well as your body. So
yeah, no, for sure. People don't realize that you need both of those. But I guess some people, I'll have conversation with them. They're just kind of like, not in the sense brain dead, but in the sense of like they're just like, oh, it's not a big deal. I'm not nervous. I'm not excited. I'm just going to go out there and whatever happens, happens. I don't know if that's the truth. I don't know if it's more deep or whatever it may be. But to each their own. I'm supportive. Like whether I agree or disagree with someone's antics, I'm still respectful and I support them doing what they need to do. So whatever works for them, and that's their formula for success, and I support it, I guess. But
yeah,
that's tough.
yeah. At the end of the day, it comes down to what works best for the individual. But I think most people could have their game enhanced by spending a little more time focusing on mental training and really being able to get in that zone.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, I need to go and do some more research into that as to why people are so opposed to it, because it's kind of a funny thing. Like you said, everybody's different on it.
Yeah, I personally, I've heard multiple people say it, but like, if you want to be great, like, like you got to be really honest with yourself, and I'm not a doctor. I haven't gone to school for psychology or for anything else like that. But I'd imagine the more you understand about the mental aspect of things, the more you have to get in touch with yourself and the more honest you have to be with yourself. That could be scary for certain people,
Yeah, maybe
so
that's it.
yeah,
Maybe
it's
that's
tough.
why.
Some people just don't want to, I guess, for whatever reasons, but it is what it is.
Very true. I wanted to get your thoughts on. I saw something posted here. I believe it was earlier this week, regarding should instructors roll with their students. What's your take on that? To me, it was the idea of not rolling with my students was foreign to me, so I couldn't really see what they were getting at. What are
Yeah,
you, what are your?
you were so one-sided that you didn't understand the question.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think it's important. It's tough because I think that jujitsu is like all about like it's like a cult initially. Like you go in and it's like the instructor has its specific thing, and that's the environment, that's the culture, and it is what it is. You know what I mean? I've been in multiple different cultures with some of the top dudes in the jujitsu scene, some people that no one's ever heard of as well. And for me, I rolled a lot with certain instructors, and like with Andre, I've trained with Andre, I've trained with Keenan and whatnot. But Andre is obviously my coach, and he's my instructor and whatnot. But I've trained with him, but not as much as the other guys have, just because of the size difference. I'm
Right.
a little guy personally, so I've got a student that is like walks around at like 250. He's a high level purple belt, and it's like, hey man, let me try and teach you jujitsu, and then I can't do anything to him because he literally just buries me into the ground. So
Right.
I don't mind rolling with those people, and whatnot, but I think it's very important, and I think that it's to a degree, it's this very particular relationship you need to have with your students. I know what it's like to be a student, I know what it's like to be an instructor, and I think it's very important for that connection, that relationship to take place on the mat, and you can be able to give pointers, you can be able to see how people have progressed. And I think there's a time and a place for everything. There's a time to be on the outside looking in. There's a time to be on the inside and feeling out what's going on, And everybody's different too. Not all my students are, world-class competitors in the sense that that's what they want to do. Some are hobbyists, some are MMA fighters, some are just, they do jiu-jitsu for other reasons, So I kind of just try to like, have a particular relationship with each individual person, and I think that the more that I can get to know that person with their jiu-jitsu and I can train with them and I can roll with them, the more that I can give to them. So I think it's very important for the instructor to roll with their students, not just for the student, but also for me too. It makes my game evolve. It makes me sharpen my techniques. It makes people realize that what I'm showing them, that they're like, I mean, they're confident, they believe in me, but then they see me actually doing the moves to them because it's something that I'm familiar with. So, I mean, I think all around is just something that kind of like, maybe it's not super, super important in certain aspects, but I think it's definitely ingrained into like what the foundation of what the student and instructor relationship should be, for sure.
Yeah, I agree with that. And, you know, I'm really able to tell the level of my student when I roll with them. I can kind of feel, it's more by feel than being able to watch them from the outside and go, man, this guy's reaching that next level. He's ready for that next promotion or that next belt. So for me, it's kind of by feel, but I know a lot of people, maybe there's variables in there too. I could see maybe if the instructor was, banged up and had a ton of injuries and whatnot, he wouldn't be able to roll. Or maybe if it's a very old instructor, I could see there being exceptions to what we're talking about. But I definitely think it's something that's important to both the growth of the instructor and the student.
Yeah, yeah, no, I couldn't agree with you more. You know what I mean? Like, in certain cases, that I provoke challenge in my academy, not in the sense of like alpha male walking around puffing your chest out and like who's next on the varsity squad type thing, but it's like I like when my students say like, well, why does that work? And like I don't understand it, and like they need to see it, like they need to see it firsthand, and
Right.
like I like that check, and I like that being able to be like, man, like that extra boost of confidence and them believing in me and me believing in them, like, look, this is what actually is taking place, and I mean, my entire career I've been just getting smashed on by Cyborg and Drysdale, Andre, and all the other guys at Atos. So I mean, like, the proof is in the pudding, yes, but like at the end of the day, we're all very, very close, and we should be able to communicate with our jiu-jitsu. And if we don't, I mean, like, what actually are we doing out there? So it can be tough, but at the same time, like, I can flow with my students. I train with kids that are 50 pounds, so I mean, like, if I can do it with them, I can do it with a 250-pound man. So I got to be able to do it with both.
What do you think are maybe some of the factors that would hold an instructor back from wanting to roll with their students, aside from the obvious ones, injuries and age? Do you think maybe a little ego might get in the way if they have some students that are close to being able to catch them, and maybe they avoid that because they don't want the other students to see that? Or
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, I mean, I'm kind of like anti jujitsu hierarchy system, in the sense of like, now that I'm a black belt, I understand like there's other black belts out there, and like, I'm not trying to protect it in that sense, but I mean, I've literally gone to other people's academies, and I've politely asked a higher belt to roll, and it's like, that's disrespectful. And then the people that don't think it's disrespectful still say no because whatever it may be. But it's like, I don't know if it's like once they see that maybe the student taps them, they realize that like, what they're being sold isn't true. I don't know. I mean, it's tough, but I mean, it could be 1,001 reasons, but the one that I see the most is definitely the ego. It's like they have to, they're constantly trying to portray this fake identity with their students, and at the end of the day, that's kind of like the last thing maybe that they're holding back by showing them. And if they show their true colors in their training, whether they say a lot of things, they make a lot of statements, and they can't back it up on the mat, then what they're selling now all of a sudden is valuable, and maybe their students leave, and maybe they rely on their students to be able to pay for their bills. So I can understand why they're scared of it, but at the same time, it's like, man, then you're kind of in business for the wrong reason.
yeah, and that's kind of the old school mentality of having to maintain that air of invincibility, which you and I, we know from rolling with different black belts, different people at a high level. I mean, there's guys out there that nobody's ever heard of that would tear most guys apart. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, there's a lot more factors to it than who can tap who in all of these different things. It's about who's giving the most to their students and not holding anything back,
Yep.
and making sure that they let their students know that, man, if you get tapped, you're going to learn from that. You're going to get better.
Yeah.
And that's a huge lesson to learn. Getting tapped is not losing. getting tapped, if you learn from it, it is not a loss.
Yeah.
That's how we all get better. All of us have been tapped thousands of times over the years,
Yeah.
and if you put yourself out there and remain open to learning, you're going to get tapped thousands of more times.
Yep. And what's funny is the mindset exactly that you just shared is kind of like that's very, very clear across the board with a lot of the guys that are part of the system, like your guys that are top competitors, that are great instructors. But for some reason, the guys that don't agree with that are the ones that have an academy with 12,000 students.
Right.
So it's like, man, it's tough because like it seems like to a degree, like when you're trying to hit the masses and whatnot, there's this like subconscious psychology that's going on that like that's what it is, that's what it has to be, like. But I mean, like at the same time, it's like, if that's what works for them, it works for them. And like, as long as jiu-jitsu is getting spread, I mean, it's tough for me to be able to walk around and change how it's being spread to every single person, and I want to make sure that they're getting everything out of it. But, it's like at the same time, not everybody is going to be able to understand. I mean, some people don't want that to happen, So, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like we just can only do what we can. But everybody that I've ever met is always like, man, I'm not worried about tapping. Like I've seen Keenan tap multiple times, and I ask him like, well, why did this happen? Blah, blah, and he goes, it just is what it is. It's not a big deal. Life goes on. You learn and you keep going. And that's in some people's eyes, Keenan is one of the best, will be the best, and is the best of jiu-jitsu right now. So it's like if you can't take that as inspiration, realize that's the road you should follow. If you look up to guys like that, then like I don't know why you're training anywhere else.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So, did you watch the last UFC?
Which one was it? The one with Dominic Cruz and Cody?
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched it. Yeah. Unfortunately.
What'd you think?
Oh man, it was intense. There was a lot of. I was actually really, really shocked to see the amount that UFC was pouring into Ronda, and not the current champion. And like it kind of made me sad to see how.
Yeah, that was really disheartening to me.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously it's the internet, so I don't know if it's true, but I saw an article and they were quoting Dana White, and he said, like nobody knew who Amanda Nunes was, and then she fought and beat Ronda Rousey. So if you're complaining about our marketing strategy and what we did, you're welcome. Now everybody knows who Amanda Nunes is. So it's like, okay, I don't know if that's what you thought before, during, or after, whatever it may be, but I understand the angle now. But it's tough.
He pulled a Vince McMahon and turned it around on everybody.
Yeah, he's not stupid for sure. That's why he gets paid the big bucks.
No, he's a smart businessman.
Yeah, no, it's good. But UFC is definitely like I think that event more than anything, you can see that UFC is evolving in terms of like what fighters are current, what fighters are on their way out, in the sense of like stylistically, and which ones are evolving and like good. Like I mean, like I was greatly dumbfounded about seeing how well Dominic Cruz handled his loss and what he said about it, and it was really inspirational.
That was pretty inspiring, wasn't it?
He
said all the right things for sure.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because you have Ronda, who gets paid that much money and has that kind of performance, but not just that, but she has nothing to say. And then you have Dominic Cruz, who, I mean, theoretically, like, he's considered to be as great as he is and whatnot, and he's got nothing but positive things to say, and nobody's heckling him online. So, I mean, it's not ironic, it's not a coincidence, but, it's
right.
He's a true leader, and like, that's what's cool about UFC. Like they have guys like that in there, and even look at Cody. Cody's a great dude. Like they talk their trash and whatnot, but like look at the stuff that he was doing for everybody. The kid that he was having in the ring with them, they were doing stuff that's huge. It's huge. That's what MMA and UFC should be focusing on, marketing.
Yeah, honestly, that brought tears to my eyes when he put the belt on that kid.
Man, it was crazy, right? Oh man,
because I turned to my wife and I go, man, what would be really cool is if he put the belt on the kid, and then, like boom. A second, like literally a second later he did. So
yeah, no, it's they like, I saw another story. They were actually showing years and years of those two being connected, and like, I think what originally happened is that kid, I apologize, I don't know his name, but he calls Cody and they're talking on the phone, and he's just like, he's at the end of his chemotherapy, he's supposed to take his medication, and Cody's like, listen, man, you got to finish your med. Like, it was super touching, and I'm like, man, do not make me cry before we have to watch this fight.
Yeah, exactly.
Please. Yeah, so it was huge, man, and like, it's like, man, to see that there's people out there that are chasing their dreams, but they're doing it with other people, and they're trying to be supported, like, that's huge. That kid's life that's changed my life, and that, like, I can't imagine what it did for him, but like, that's super inspirational. That's what I love about the sport, for sure.
Yeah, he gained a fan in me right there, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and you could see, like, they were the amount of talking that was taking place between Cody and Dominic Cruz and all the interviews that they were doing was getting pretty intense. And to see that, like, at the end, after that, like, stellar performance that was taking place on both sides, that's what they had to say, and that's how they were showing off themselves and they were showing their true character. Like, man, it was definitely touching. And I wanted Dominic to win very, very badly. So I was not upset with the loss after seeing how it was handled on both sides.
And it was a great fight.
Yeah, it was huge.
So speaking of fighting, I understand that you're venturing into MMA.
Yeah, I dabble here and there. I started fighting MMA. I fought my first fight in Philadelphia, and I took a little bit break in when I moved to Florida, but then I fought again when I was in Vegas for a while. And, when I decided to make the move to Michigan, I wanted to pick up that career, and I wanted to make a run at it. ONE FC actually in Japan, well, not in Japan, but it's in Asia. They actually have a 115 weight class, and once I heard that, I realized that I wanted to get back on the bus and make a run for it and see what I can do with it, while coinciding with competing in a gi as well and at the major events in IBJJF. But I mean, it's super exciting. It's different. I don't like getting hit in the face, but it's definitely a different challenge, and it kind of puts me in positions to where I need to learn new things, especially with my stand-up, my boxing, and everything else like that. So I'm addicted to that, like, learning new stuff. I mean, the amount that I learned in jiu-jitsu is obviously still new, and I can still evolve and force myself to grow, but the amount that I can do in stand-up is far greater, the amount that I'm learning as of right now in this moment mentally. I'm just, it's like, I feel like I'm a white belt again, so it's huge to me.
That's a great feeling, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. It's like, man, I haven't felt this in a while. I feel like, because sometimes in jiu-jitsu, I'm making such minor adjustments and trying to, like, really hone things in before I really make big challenges to grow significantly, that I'm trying to focus on my A game. And then some days my goals are so absurd that it's like, I don't know if it's beneficial or not, but I walk in the mat, I put on gloves, and no one cares what I've won in jiu-jitsu. They just beat the piss out of me. So, it's nice. It's humbling, and, it makes you realize, like, I want to be well-rounded. I want to be just as good in striking as I'm in jiu-jitsu, and it's nice to be able to learn like that again and to be tested. I got to actually go in a cage and realize, like, oh, I can't just do jiu-jitsu because we start standing up, so I can't pull guard. He's going to kick me in my face. So it's a really big deal to me. It's like another way to grow, and I enjoy it a lot. I still love jiu-jitsu, but it's a different kind of feeling from MMA.
Now, am I correct that is it your first pro fight is coming up this year?
Yeah, correct. I think it's 3 weeks from today on the 28th. It's my pro debut in Michigan.
Awesome.
So yeah, I mean, I had 6 fights as an amateur, and they were scattered obviously over a long period of time, but this is my pro debut, and then I'm looking to fight again immediately afterwards within like 2-3 months, and I've got some big plans, and I'm going to kind of like balance that out with maybe fighting 3 to 4 times a year, depending on what the promotions want me to do, and then just doing like Pan Ams and Worlds and maybe Europeans, and like just kind of like basically be like the Mackenzie Dern of the 115-pound black belt weight class, try to pull that off.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, minus the pictures on the beach, but the same type of thing. Yeah.
I don't know what pictures you're talking about, dude.
Yeah, me neither.
Hey, what event is that at? What card are you on?
It's called Mad Men Promotions. It's like MMMA. It's like Michigan Mixed Martial Arts. It's in Jackson. It's about, from what I'm told, I think it's like an hour and 15 minutes west of me. So it's like, I think there's a prison in Jackson. That's all I've really been told. But just a local small one. It's been tough to find opponents to fight. Like, I've been getting a lot of people pulling out. So the local promotion is allowing me to use like my fan base here locally to kind of like sell more tickets, and I'm giving up my purse to fly someone in here to fight me. So
Gotcha.
It's easier to work with those guys rather than just going somewhere nationally to make a pro debut. But I'm looking to fight there in 3 weeks, and then I'm looking to fight back home in Philadelphia for CFFC, I think, in the next like 3 or 4 months, to kind of like see my family one more time before I get signed and then start fighting over in Asia, before obviously then it'll be a lot difficult for everybody to go and be able to be supportive in person. So that's the game plan as of now, but it'll be balancing out between doing Pan Ams, and then I don't know if I'll qualify for Worlds with the amount of jiu-jitsu that I'll be doing the next couple months, but hopefully if I win Pans, I'll be able to do it all, and we'll see how it works out.
So you got a lot of big goals laid out for the year. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I talked a lot of talk as a brown belt since I was a brown belt for a while, and now it's time for me to back it up. So, I'm hoping to fight Caio or Bruno first round at Pan Ams or something like that. So
yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, that's the true test. It's what I'm looking forward to. It's what I've been waiting for my whole life. So I'm excited to do that, but it's nice to be able to do that while also focusing on MMA. So this way I don't blow my mind out mentally. So it'll be a fun year for sure.
And that'll be your first time competing as a black belt, correct?
Correct. Pan Am's will be my first time compete. I'm not competing in anything else as a black belt until I go to Pan Am. So, we have the Chicago Open in April. I'm gonna go there, be supportive, and like kind of like push my students to go compete. I have a decent amount of people going for gi and no gi. So, but I'm kind of like, I've got a student that will be fighting in Las Vegas. I think the 2 weeks before Pan Am, so I'll be in Vegas cornering her, and then I'll fly to San Diego, finish up my camp there, and then that'll be my black belt debut for IBJJF.
Man, that's going to be great.
Yeah, it'll be huge.
Are you approaching it any differently mentally? Or are you going in with your same mindset, same kind of approach to it as you would when you were a brown belt?
Well, I mean, I haven't felt the fire that I used to have. Like, I mean, like when I won everything in 2013, I felt like I was like this on fire mentally. I had to kill everybody type thing, and like I still feel that. But like I haven't felt it in a while just because I just didn't have the desire to compete. But now that I'm able to put on the black belt and be able to do it, like I'm getting it back again. Like I think I respect people, and I don't want to hurt anybody, but I'm not going to be making any friends out there, and I'm going to be going really, really hard. So I've got some unfinished business with Kaio that I'd like to follow up with. So I'm hoping that somehow takes place, whether he signs up or I have to chase him down somewhere. But I'm really looking forward to being able to finally like show up to the test, and I'm definitely hungry for it. I'm going to be training really hard for it. Obviously, I'll be doing a majority of my camp here in Michigan, and I don't have the level of training partners that I would at Atos and at HQ in San Diego. But I've got good guys out here that can push me, and I'll create challenges and goals for myself every day during practice that I'll be able to still get that quality training, and I'll stay sharp mentally. And like I said, I'll be able to focus on MMA too, so I won't be able to be mentally just blown out. So that'll be good. But I'm gonna go out there and just go for the kill, or I'm gonna get killed. Just leave it all on the mat like always.
Hey, that's the way to do it, right?
100%.
So you moved out to Michigan and opened up your own new academy here recently. Why don't you talk a little bit about that? Let people know where they can find you, and if you're open to people dropping in and training, visiting from all over the world.
Yeah, always. I mean, we get a decent amount of people that come in. We're in a good area, so like I don't have a huge following out here, but there's a decent amount of people that will be like, "Oh, I heard you have an academy now. Can I stop in?" So it's in Brighton. Like I said, it's about 25-30 minutes west of Detroit. It's at an academy called SFS. So I actually met a guy named James Gray. He's an absolute monster. He's one of the best jiu-jitsu fighters I ever met in my life at a lower weight. He walks around about like 140, but he fights MMA at 135. He's a beast too. He's fought for XFC in Brazil, and he's basically like a diamond in the rough. Nobody knows about him because he doesn't really do too much competing, but he's won a bunch of ADCC qualifiers and stuff like that. He's really good. But I met up with him. We hit it off. We had great conversation, and he was like, "Hey man, you want to come out here? You want to do some stuff together? Focus on MMA, teach jiu-jitsu, And after I got here and everything was settled up, it was just like we wanted to do things together. And now we're both owning the academy. We're both working together, and I'm teaching all the gi jiu-jitsu. I'm teaching like half the no gi jiu-jitsu. He's teaching another half, and he's teaching MMA. And we've got a good program. We've got good people out here, and the doors are always open. We've got classes 6 days a week, sometimes even 7, depending if I want to go in there on a Sunday, depending on how tired I am. But got a decent amount of students, a lot of pro fighters, a lot of amateur fighters. I'm bringing a lot of people over that are just like doing gi stuff or no gi stuff. So it's a good environment that has a lot of different separate entities inside of it. Huge facility, which is awesome because I haven't seen a facility this big. Usually like the more rural the area you get, the less expensive it is. So like it's in San Diego is huge. Obviously Atos HQ, the new HQ is huge, but this place is big too. So it's a great environment. It's just cold, which sucks, but when it gets warm again, it's nice. But anybody's always welcome. I've got a couple of people that come from other academies and cross train a lot, and I got a decent amount of kids, and we're building up the program. So hopefully within the next like year or two, like a lot of people will start coming over to like maybe do their camps for things from different academies. And I've got a lot of students from all over the country anyway that'll come in and train for certain events. So I'm looking to grow that out. Kind of like spread the word, just kind of build things up and kind of make like the Midwest like a different style of jiu-jitsu, bring the culture, make it friendly, give it back to the community and whatnot. So doing my best to do that. We're putting a lot into showing who we are as people rather than just trying to make it a business, and it's working very well, and a lot of people are pleased with it, so it's working out great.
Boy, funny how that works, huh?
I know, right? It's like just be a good human being, and other people will see that, and
Yeah.
it's nice, man. And that's the kind of people that I mean, everybody I guess would want, but that's the kind of people that I want in my academy. I don't want people that are like, like they don't care about character. I mean, if you don't care about character and you're a bad person, you're definitely not going to step into my academy. You're not going to train. I don't even care who you are. We're not going to Shark Tank you and then accept you. We're not going to I'm not going to green light people to hurt you. You're just not going to train at all. You're just not welcome into my spot. So,
Yeah.
great friendly academy for sure.
Yeah, people are always surprised when I tell them how many people I turn away when they come in if I find they just don't have the right attitude or they're not the right fit for the academy.
Yeah, that's it. I
They're
mean,
like,
one bad apple ruins the rest.
yeah, they're like, what? You turned down? I had a guy
Yeah.
that wanted to pay for a year tuition up front, and I was like, no, sorry. Yeah, I think you
We're
should.
full.
Yeah, we're full. We're not signing anybody up right now.
I would actually be, yeah, I mean, me personally, if you said no to me, I would happily just smile and walk away. But I mean, I'm sure you get some big dudes out there that want to come in and Gracie challenge with you. So,
No, actually,
no?
I've never had anybody do that yet.
Oh man. But yeah, listen, I can tell how scary you are, so maybe they're just smart for not wanting to do that. But I mean, you get it. Like you just it's your environment, it's your home, it's your family. You don't want to let bad people in. You just kind of like see people talk, like people come in all the time, like I want to sign up, and I'm like, okay, let's have a conversation. It has nothing to
Yeah,
do with your accomplishments or anything. If you're a bad person, you're not welcome around my family. Just period.
exactly. Yeah, it's just as much about us reviewing them to make sure they're a good fit for the academy as it is them making sure the academy is a good fit for them.
Yep, 100%. I mean, it's super important. I got people that literally come in and they're like high level jujitsu and they're like, oh, I heard you're here. I want to train, and I'm like talking to them. They're like, yeah, I just want hard training. Nobody really wants to go hard with me. I just like, I like training real hard. And like, I'm just like, yeah, man, that's great. But like, if you go with a girl and like I see you trying to kill her, and she's a white belt and she's been training for 3 months, and I see you just smashing her, like that's just not going to work for me. It's not going to work for my academy. Sorry. So, you get guys like that all the time, or you get girls, whatever it may be. But like, it's got to be, everything's got to be in sync. The machine's got to work out well, or else it doesn't work and operate the way it should be.
Yeah, it does, and it has to be the responsibility of the academy leader to maintain and cultivate the type of environment they want. So it's like I always say, it all comes down from the top. So
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'm sure you get messages from people asking advice about their academy situations, and I always tell them, hey, have you spoke to your instructor? Because a lot of times as instructors, we're so busy, we don't always see what's going on. Maybe we're not there at a certain time, something happens, and if you don't make us aware and give us the benefit of the doubt to correct the problem, it's not going to get better. But at the same time, I see this epidemic where there's academy leaders who don't want to ruffle any feathers, and they'll allow, things that bring down the training environment to continue. And it's really sad to see the students suffer from that.
It really is, because I mean, at the end of the day, if you care about the business, like, well, first the business has to operate. If the business isn't existing, you can't have students. And then you realize you got to take care of the students. So once the business is the way it is, and you've got a good, it's clean, it's respectful, then your students are happy. If you don't have both of those things, I don't even know how it's going to survive. But I mean, I know because I've been a student that there's 1,000 students and there's one instructor. So I know obviously it is difficult and challenging to be the instructor because there's a lot of people that look up to you and reach out to you, But I mean, that's what's great about having that responsibility. People look up to you. You got to be like, hey, like, let me help out, But just like you said, a lot of people are even scared to have certain conversations with their instructor, or they're very timid.
Yeah, the number one answer because the first thing I ask is, well, have you let your instructor know? And they say, well, I don't want to sound like I'm complaining or something, And I'm like, yeah, but you're you're messaging a complete stranger asking advice about your academy, and you won't even talk to your instructor. Like, go talk to your instructor. If they truly care, they're gonna they're gonna make sure to give you good advice and take care of the problem themselves if it's something major.
Yeah, no, I mean, I literally tell my students that if there's a reason why they can't talk to me, that's a big red flag, you know, and you have to be able to have the confidence to have the communication, the conversation. So, I mean, I literally have people that come up to me and they'll talk to me about something like, you know, this isn't a big deal, but I'm like, no, if it is a big deal, it's a big deal to you. Don't think it's not a big deal to me. Like, you know, I'm here
Exactly.
for you, you know. But I mean, and I understand because they too have experienced life, and you know, and sometimes they have tried to bring up other things to their boss or to their parents when they were younger, whatever it may be. So, you know, you just got to kind of accept everybody, have unconditional love, and just kind of like have boundaries and rules. But it's tough, man. I mean, I've been in that type of situation while being an instructor at other people's academies. So it's like almost undermining the head instructor and going
Right.
like, it's like, hey man, like I'm not trying to say like don't talk to me, but this is a conversation you need to have with you know the head honcho. I'm not the
Yeah.
guy, you know,
Yeah,
and
for sure.
it's tough, you know. I mean, but at the same time, you know, some people just they communicate well with other people that they don't, and I can understand how it could be tough. But I mean, like that's a huge growth thing as well. Like you know, just like jiu-jitsu taught me, like you know, you may be scared or you know you're trying to do something it's not working out, but just by forcing yourself or going in there and actually trying to get out of your comfort zone, you realize like how much growth takes place there, you know, and that maybe that's all why jiu-jitsu is here for, is it teaches us to be able to have those conversations.
Very true. Um, what advice would you give someone coming into to jiu-jitsu, being a brand new student? I mean, you know, it's pretty scary and overwhelming for people to even step through the door sometimes. It can be intimidating. So when they're coming in as a brand new student, like an open book coming in, trying to take on the vastness that is jiu-jitsu, the vast art of endless possibilities, what kind of advice do you have for them? Do you try to get them to kind of narrow down their focus and focus on a certain area of the game, or how do you approach working with a brand new person with no prior martial arts or wrestling or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I talk to them first to see like what their initial goals are when they sign up, like you know whether they're just trying to, oh, I heard about this, like you know, like I always wanted to try it, whatever it may be, and I know that at some point in time it's a possibility that those goals or their desires will change, but you know, I just let them know like you know I'm going to be here to support you, and there's going to be possibility of times where you're going to be uncomfortable and thinking that I'm not being supportive of those, and I'm going to be pushing you to try and like you know continue to grow as a person, but you know I really focus on telling all my students to be open minded and to constantly be like attempting to grow and to stay focused, stay confident, stay positive, you know. And I focus a lot on telling people like to have goals, to have like goals during training and during each role, whatever it may be. And you know, I'll just tell them like basically like when you're in here, focus on why you're here, focus on what you're attempting to do. And if you need help coming up with something that's more simple, that is easier for your mind to cope with and understand while you're doing it, that's what we're all here for. And be sure to ask everybody else, you know. And but there's a lot of people that come in, you know, and it's like even tough to have that conversation, you know. You just gotta kind of like be there and like not really hold their hand, but every time they try to step back, you just kind of like you're behind them and you're like, hey, we're here, we're good to go. So I find it important to like tell people that they're gonna be supported and like you know they're gonna be pushed to a degree out of their comfort zone, and to be very open minded of that, and that's why they're there. And because I mean, like I remember my first times when I was training, like I was like, man, I don't want this 300-pound dude just squashing my face. Like, what am I learning here? You know? And
Yeah.
my instructor was just like, for a while, was just like, oh, just keep training. And like, I was like, what? I am training. And it's like, yeah, just keep doing that. And I'm like, yeah, but I am. And I'm getting my face smashed. And then he's like, well, don't do it anymore. And I'm just like, what? I didn't understand. So I'm not trying to trick the mind. You know, I'm not trying to like say whatever, give some kind of haiku to make people realize what's going on. But, you know,
Yeah.
it's just, you just gotta, each person kind of communicates differently, and I try to really get in touch with that with each particular person, and then I just clearly communicate to them the best way they understand and they can hear, and I listen back to them, and I just really push them into that way, you know. I really tell people like I'm not going to throw you in the deep end, but just know that this is like, you know, this is going to be the best thing of your life if you want it to be, and that we just go from there.
Yeah, you can definitely get as much out of it as you put into it, and then some with jujitsu.
Oh yeah, and then some is definitely the focus point of that statement.
From a technical aspect, what do you usually have people work on first when they're coming in completely green, without any knowledge of jujitsu? Is there a certain technique or a certain area, escapes or counters, or what do you usually like to work on with them first?
I focus a lot um, on people like being position wise and good positioning. So like I focus a lot on like when I teach it's very conceptual anyway. I try not to teach like not just like a straight technique. I do show technique as an example of like the concept that I'm showing, but like a good example is when I came here, there were certain people that were already training, and they were obviously gifted, whatever it may be, and then I had brand new people that were just showing up. And a good example is that I had two brothers. I came in, one was like 13, and there's another 13-year-old that was there. Both size different, it was a little bit there, but like overall, like one was more talented, one had wrestling and jiu-jitsu, the other one had nothing, and all I focused on with him was his positioning in the sense of like where his elbows were and where his knees were in different positions. And I said, listen, just focus on being like this. Don't worry about trying to win, don't worry about trying to lose, don't worry about getting tapped or trying to tap. Stay here, look to see what opens up. While your elbows are in the right position, your legs are in the right position, they will be out of positioning. The better yours is, the worse theirs will be. So I focus a lot on that, especially for people that are just starting, because I want to give them a good foundation. And for me, I think that positioning aspect, that concept is very, very important. So I really focus and force that for months. But I do that even when I'm down the road with brown belts and some of the black belts that are training underneath me. So positioning is major key in my sense, like the shell type positioning.
Yeah. Yeah, I always talk about prevention being the highest form of defense. So
Mm-hmm.
trying to get people to understand that, a lot of times when you learn techniques, you'll see if you're working a specific escape, you're starting at zero, like you're in the worst possible spot. I
Yep.
mean, you don't see too many instructors showing how to not end up being all the way stuck in that bad position.
Yep.
So
Yep.
obviously we need to work our worst case scenario if we do end up there, but there needs to be more emphasis on prevention and how to keep these things from happening whenever possible.
Yeah. 100%. Like I go all over the world to teach seminars, and then I'll always have like a Q&A small portion. There always will be somebody be like, well, how do I get out of this position, blah, blah. And I'm like, do you want me to tell you how to fix a broken type problem, or do you want to fix not being there anymore?
Right.
And once you word it like that, it's like, oh, okay, I understand. And it's tough because a lot of people that have already trained and they already created these habits, whether it was drilling, whether it's just repetitions, or whether it's just whatever it may be, but nobody helped them, or maybe they didn't even consciously realize that they had to tell us to these people, whatever it may be, but they've already created so many habits that it's like they're making 3 or 4 bad moves way beforehand before they even get to that point to where they're getting put in a locked triangle, and it's like, man, I'm not trying to teach you how to survive. I'm teaching you how to not even be in a bad position at all. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, but a lot of people don't even understand that. They're like, yeah, well, I get that, but like if I get there, and I'm like, man, okay, cool, I'll show you how to get out of that or whatever it may be, but you can just tap. And it's like, what? And it's like, just tap. You're already in there.
Right.
And it's like, I can teach you some tricks that may work, but like, I try to tell people, like, one of my biggest things, like cliche sayings, I'm like, if you don't have control before you're able to sweep or you're able to pass or you're able to submit, it's called luck, and don't get used to it, because consistency doesn't come from luck. So like, unless you can do it every single time, I don't even know what you're doing here anymore, and I force that a lot on the competitors as well. But a lot of people are always emphasizing on like, well, he's already got my collar, I'm already collar dragged, I'm on the ground and my face planted, and then like he sweeps me, what do I do now? And it's like, you probably should get privates. I don't know what to tell you. Like you're not even listening to what we're working on in class. But that doesn't happen so much when you have consistency with certain students, because you force them to create better habits. But it's tough when you get new people coming in, or you go somewhere and you're guest teaching or whatnot, because it's kind of like, and I get really awkward, because I don't want to like say like, like, hey, I'm not saying what you're doing is right or wrong. This is my opinion. And like, like, you can continue to work the way that you are, and if it's working for you, awesome. But you're asking me a question, you're here, so it's probably not working. So let's figure it out.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is the result of the type of instruction they're receiving sometimes, and then I notice a lot of it too with in the age that we're in with this endless amount of technique that people can find online, you find people want to collect new moves. So how many times have you had somebody go, man, coach, I need you to show me how to counter the armbar. I keep getting caught in the armbar from the guard. Like, bro, you need to you need to figure out why you keep getting caught in the armbar from the guard first.
Exactly.
And then we can talk about countering the armbar.
Yeah, it's just, I get that. I don't get that so much. Well, I haven't got it with like defensive moves, but I'll get it from like offense. Like when the Berimbolo was big, I had a lot of people that were like, man, I'm hitting the Berimbolo, but then I get here and like it's blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, where'd you learn the Berimbolo? And it's like, well, I saw it online. And I'm like, okay, cool. Have you ever broken it down? Have you been drilling it properly? Have you been drilling it? Have you done 25 hours of drilling it incorrectly this entire time because your positioning is off, and then you're wondering why at the end it's all off? It's like, man, it's like really focus on what you're doing to begin with. If what you're doing doesn't start off correctly, everything after that's going to be off. The whole axis is off.
Yep.
And like people don't understand that because they don't want to be told that the work that they've put in is a waste.
Very true. Yeah.
And it's a definitely, it hits hard, and like you got to tell people like, well, it's not a waste. You obviously learned what doesn't work, and that's a positive. Stay confident with that. But then a list of things not to do anymore. But like, like you got to put in that work, and I mean, like when I was originally in the Philadelphia area and I trained with Jared Weiner and Brad Dattis, who are Lloyd Irvin affiliates, like we were big on like the repetition thing. Like, like Lloyd Irvin was like, we're going to do this repetition, blah, 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 10 billion times. And it's like, man, okay, but he's teaching you how to do it properly. And not only that, he's watching you to make sure that every time you rep it, you're repping it the correct way.
Right.
So like a lot of people, like, and I've seen it, like instructor goes up and it's like, okay, I'm going to put 10 minutes on the clock, for 5 minutes you're on bottom and you're repping your arm bars. But Susie over in the corner is doing it, but she's repping it incorrectly, and she's going to do that for 6 months. And then she's going to come to you later on and go, every time I go here, I get stacked and I can't finish that arm bar, but I can get the arm bar every single time. And it's like, how do you tell her that all the work she's put in was wrong?
Exactly.
Because, it's tough, but, it's just you gotta create good habits. You got to have a good foundation. And like that all starts with like what we're talking about of like, it's got to be done correctly. You can't be focusing on the crazy stuff or the things that are later on. It's got to be at the beginning.
Yeah, practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect, right?
That's it right there. Perfect practice is only perfect. That's it.
Something else I noticed too is a lot of times with how technique is often taught, students will focus on the end result of that sequence. So, in other words, if it's a sweep, they'll think more about getting the sweep and landing on top versus how to get into the control position first, like be able to control somebody there for more than 5 seconds. Because if you can't control somebody in the setup position, in the control, you're never going to sweep them.
Oh, 100%.
But they all want to get to the position and get the sweep and finish. It's like, no, you need to learn how to maintain that control. And then once you can keep someone there for more than 5 seconds, then the sweeps are going to start to happen.
Yep.
But I think it's easy to get caught up in that, whatever the end result of that sequence is.
Yeah, I mean that's typical like human culture, you're like, I want the results now, like I see how to get it, or I have gotten it once or twice, so I understand what it's like, and that's what I want to get, and I should be able to do it over and over again, like I remember Hoffa was talking to us one time during Worlds Camp, and he was saying like how everybody sees what it takes to be a world champion, but yet not everybody wants to do it.
Right.
And it's like, and I get it, and it makes it's very clear. It makes a lot of sense, but it's just like you're saying, like, when I teach crazy shit sometimes, not just because of the sense of like, let's make it crazy, right? But like in the sense of like to really force people to realize that like there's endless possibilities once you have control. And I do specific training, situational training, whatever it may be, but I'm always focusing on like, if you're not controlling first, everything's going to be luck.
Right.
So like, you can get lucky. I'm not saying that's bad, right? But like if you want to be consistent and you want to win and you don't want to go up and down and be able to hit really, really hard hills and hit really, really hard plateaus or whatever else it may be, like, you've got to be able to be in control, and it takes a really, really open-minded person to want and to actually perform the state of like, okay, I'm going to be in this controlled state, and I know like I'm probably going to fail X amount of times before I figure it out, but I want to do it. I'm going to like welcome the failure, and it takes a lot. But I mean, to me, it's like, that's how I learned. And that's what I thought is the best way. So that's all I'm just trying to show everybody else.
Yeah, I tell my students you have to be stubborn with the drilling, or if you're working a new position, you have to literally work on it over and over and over until you understand all the ins and outs. So if you get to the control position, try to get to that position from everywhere, and then get to where you can control it for a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and then start looking for your sweeps and your setups for your submissions and all these different things. But it requires a stubborn amount of patience to be able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, and that amount of work that you need to put in, like it's uncomfortable to people. I mean, like that's the whole thing. Like, get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yep.
It's like some people are just like, I'm over it. They may be really close, like they did it once and they're really far, whatever it may be. But like, I mean, that's what it takes, man. I've done some moves so many times that I'd never want to do them even during training if they present themselves, because I'm just sick of them. But it's like,
Yeah.
the amount of time that gets put in if you want the results. Like, like I've seen. I've seen what it's like to stand on the first place portion on the podium at big events, and I know what it took to get there. And I know that I need to at least hit that mark again during training and how I train if I even want the possibility of being able to be able to feel that again. I know I'll have to go above and beyond and set that bar higher and higher, but like, you almost have to be, in my eyes, like a little twisted mentally to want to be able to do something at that level, in the sense of like, I understand that I'm going to go in there for the next 6 months and just get smashed in this position to figure it out. But once I do, I have all the answers, or I have enough to where I feel confident I'm able to go in there and be able to do it at that level. But a lot of people are just, they run from it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's hard. It's hard to put yourself in that position of failure.
Yeah. It's tough on the mind, like we were
yeah.
talking about earlier. Like, not a lot of people want to be honest with themselves to that level.
Yeah, it all comes back to that more times than not. Have you booked out your seminar tour for this year? You got some upcoming seminars that people can come check out?
I mean, I've got a lot of things that are like down in the book, but like they're not like solidified on dates yet. Like, I know I'm gonna go see Brian. I'm gonna go out to Sabre. I'm gonna be in Las Vegas. I'm gonna be all over, and I'm kind of like, depending on like if I'm gonna compete in certain places, I'm gonna kind of like scale things back. But I taught like 36 seminars last year, and it was just a lot, and I don't want to do that many this year again. So I think I may do a European tour, but I probably won't do as much. But right now, like, things are kind of like really calmed down. I made like a few approaches, and I've gotten requests. I'm kind of just like, okay, well, like, let me get back to you. So I think I'm going to keep it really small so I can focus on my students this year more than I did last year, and focus more on competing and my career this year. And so I'll probably do at least half of what I did last year, but nothing set in stone with like actual dates yet, just like around about times. But I'll be all over the country. Eventually I'll be all over Europe and whatnot. But as of right now, like, it's just got to be one at a time on the lookout. So I actually was just asked today to come out to Seattle to somebody's academy. So
really?
Maybe
cool.
I'll come by there and stop by, see the 300, put on a gi, and let you beat me up a little bit.
Hey, you're always welcome, brother.
There you go. I
love
appreciate
to have
that.
you out. And speaking of our good friend Bryant, man, he's supposed to have me out to his academy as well. Maybe we can.
Oh, that's right. You're going soon, yeah?
Yeah, maybe we can coordinate and both get out there around the same time or something.
You just want to beat me up. You're like,
No
oh,
way,
yeah,
no way.
you can come here. Or, oh, no, you know what? We'll do it there. Yeah, it's fine. No problem.
Hey, you can ask Brian. I'm a little guy trapped in a big guy's body.
I actually heard I was in I was at Team Rhino in Idaho, and everybody was very highly of you. They were like, man, that dude's, because I'm like, I don't know if you guys realize how big he is. Maybe because you guys are bigger than me, but like, that dude's a big dude. He's scary looking.
Right,
like,
right.
no, man, he's so gentle. He's very softly spoken. He's a great guy. And I'm like, yeah, that's great, but like, you're not understanding what I'm saying to you. But I've heard great things, like, and I'll talk to Brian. See, I know, like, he's going to Guam, and then he comes back, or maybe he already went, but he's got a bunch of things going on. He's competing.
He's been back and forth a lot over there, so
yeah, living the dream.
Busy, just like all of us academy owners.
There you go. Yeah. So I mean, I'll talk to him. See when you're going out there. Maybe I'll just go out there for that weekend just to hang out anyway. But it'll be awesome for sure. I would love to. And you're always welcome to stop by. If you enjoy the cold and you need to get away and you want to come during the winter, come. But I mean, even spring and summertime, my doors are always open to you. If you want to come out, chill, do a seminar, I got plenty of students. We'll sit down, chat, and just do some jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I did one seminar in Michigan, but it was pretty far from Detroit. It was like in a different area.
Like the upper part of Michigan, like it was far away.
I'm not even sure, man. I'm trying to remember. It was like after I got to the airport, it was like another hour drive to get where we were going, but
Detroit Airport.
I can't remember which one I flew into. I did so many seminars the past couple of years. I can't. They're all like a blur to me.
Nice. Actually, I think I remember seeing the photo, but I'm trying to think where it was. What
Yeah,
was the name of the academy?
it wasn't at an academy. It was actually they held it
Rented
at
out a
a
place.
they held it at a high school in a gymnasium. So it was pretty cool though. It was kind of an interesting experience because I went in and I didn't really know what to expect because there's not really any jiu-jitsu schools in that area. So I
Yeah.
I asked the guy the guy who runs the traditional martial arts school over there. He's actually one of my blue belts that moved, and I said, "Man, Eric, what's the demographic? We're gonna have some jiu-jitsu people there." And he says, "Well, yeah, we're gonna have some jiu-jitsu people there, and then I got a bunch of other people." I'm like, "Okay," and we go in for the day of the seminar, and it's like 50 high school kids.
Oh wow. That
Yeah,
was a curveball.
that have never done jiu-jitsu. It was a high school football team.
Oh wow.
And so it was one of those where you got to adapt on the fly, and I ended up teaching a bunch of anti-bullying, self-defense stuff, and they ended up loving it, but it was kind of like, man, I completely had to change my plans here. But that's what I love, though. That's what
Yeah,
I
I was gonna
love with
say. I'm
jiu-jitsu,
sure
though.
that's super challenging, but at the same time, you're like, you know what? I still got this.
Yeah,
It's no
yeah,
problem.
yeah. It was cool to be able to adapt like that.
Well, that's awesome. But let me know what your schedule's like when you have some openings. We'll definitely get you out here.
For
I
sure.
promise you, we will not be putting you in a high school, and it won't be any random high school people. But I'll definitely be able to tell you like how many people will be coming. We'll pack the place, man. My academy is pretty big, so I'll put the word out. We'll get a lot of people in there, and have some fun with it. So let me know what's good for you, and we'll set it up.
For sure. Yeah, and it was all good. In case Eric listens to this, I had a great time. So don't be thinking I'm trash talking you, Eric. I love you, brother. But
Nice.
you got a website that people can go to check out all your upcoming stuff?
Yeah, it's just my website's just my name. It's just christianwoodmansee.com. It's got like it's got a bunch of stuff like that's going on with me. So it'll talk about like upcoming seminars, past seminars, if I've got anything going on, like MMA fights and whatnot. But it's really low key. It's nothing crazy. I'm not trying to sell a bunch of stuff. You can like put your email in, and I can like send you an email once a month, let you know like what's been going on or what's about to take place. But it's really low key. But I mean, other than that, like I'm just really active on my Facebook and Instagram. So yeah, all of it's just my name, Kristian Woodmansee. So if anybody wants to keep up and wants to ask any questions or connect, like that's the best way to reach me.
Do you have any plans on releasing any kind of technique videos or doing any online training or anything like that?
I'm actually in talks of releasing another DVD. But with everything that's going on, it's like I got a lot of things going on behind the scenes right now. Like I've actually low key have a product coming out from one of my sponsors that's like limited edition. It's like my line type thing. It's just like one thing, but I got that worked out, and I might be filming a DVD, but I'm not sure. I'm thinking about doing something just online, but I've got just so much stuff going on that it's hard to kind of like spread myself thin. So I'm just saying no to a
Yeah,
lot of things, but
you're
um,
preaching to the choir.
yeah, man. I mean, you're always doing. It's crazy. It's like, man, there's just so much going on. I see
Yeah.
how much stuff you're doing. I'm like, man, this guy never stops. But yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. I think within the next month or so, though, like probably right after my fight, I'll be releasing probably something, whether it's a DVD or whether it's just like an online type thing, whatever it may be. But it'll be through my website. I'll be talking about it on my Facebook fan page, and my Instagram. So probably not another leg lock DVD, but it'll be something that'll be really well thought out, really conceptual, really good quality stuff. That's not trying to make me rich. It's just trying to spread the jiu-jitsu, so I'll make it as cheap as possible, however the platform is. But
That's awesome.
yeah,
Very
we'll see
cool.
how it works out. Yeah, what about you? Do you have anything coming out? You got any top secret you want to tell me about?
Man, I have so many irons in the fire. I mean, I actually I'm working on some stuff. I'm just doing some technique stuff. I'm actually just trying to pump up my YouTube channel a little more and get to regularly putting content on there more often. So I actually have a lot of techniques in the can that I'm going to be uploading on there. I'm going to try to get to where I'm uploading something every week. So
Nice.
been making a lot of improvements on there, and yeah, we got some things going on that I can't talk about, but it'll be cool when it happens.
Nice. Well, if you need an uke for some reason, if we're out somewhere and you want to choke me on your YouTube
There
page,
you go. We could
if you
do
yeah, whatever you need.
David and Goliath.
There you go. Yeah, whatever you want to do. Like, man, if you ever need help with anything, you ever need to bounce something off me, or if you want to do something together, just let me know, man. I'm always down for whatever.
Hey, same goes for you, man. I'm here
Really
for
appreciate
you.
it.
Here for
Thank
you
you, sir.
anytime. And in closing, do you have any shout outs that you would like to make before we sign off here?
Man, I could do that for days, but no, just thanks to my sponsors. There's just a lot of them, too many to name, but I appreciate all their help. Thank you to you. I appreciate you doing this with me. Like, this is cool. Like, I actually enjoy doing this more than I enjoy doing anything else. So it's awesome to be able to do this, and it's just thankful for everybody listening. If it's anybody ever wants to do anything again like this, if you want to do it with me, this is totally cool. Like, I like this, and hopefully we can continue our relationship down the road, and we'll be linking up and making some things happen. I know I'm not part of the Show Your Roll crew, so I don't know if it's frowned upon or not.
No, it's all good, brother.
I know you guys sit at your own table at lunch. I understand.
Yeah,
You guys are
right.
cool. So, but no, if you
it's
need anything-
actually completely the opposite of
I
that.
know, it's so nice. Like, I meet all the Show Your Roll guys, and I'm like, man, these guys are just so cool. Like, I'm just like, man, I wish one of them was not cool so I could hate the whole Show Your Roll.
Yeah.
Jared's a great dude. Brian's a great dude. Everybody's a great dude. The Show Your Roll crew is just awesome. I only know the guys that were from Atos from the Show Your Roll crew, but
Right.
you guys are like the OGs. Like, you guys are badasses. It's so awesome. So are you doing any of that Mission 22 stuff? Or you going to do any of the super fights for the Show Your Roll stuff, or what are you doing?
I'm actually supposed to do a seminar for Mission 22. Undisclosed dates and location. It hasn't been confirmed yet, but I'm supposed to be doing something for them soon. That was really cool. The that event that they had at the brewery.
Oh yeah, that was actually in Minneapolis. Yeah, right. Minneapolis.
Yeah. They invited me to that, but I had something else that weekend. I was bummed I couldn't go because a lot of my friends were there competing at that little super fight thing they did there. That was really neat.
It was in the brewery. It was totally awesome.
Yeah, it looked like they set it up really nice.
Yeah, it's super cool. Yeah, just thank you to you, thank you to everybody else, and greatly appreciate it. And I hope to, like I said, hope to do more with you.
Hey, let's do it again soon, brother.
I'm always down. I've got nothing but time.
Well, thank you for making the time to be on here tonight, and I'm sure everybody's going to enjoy listening to this.
Nice, man. Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, take care.
Thanks.